Hello everyone, and welcome to How to Create Art That Sells. This is going to be a really jam-packed, full of information workshop to tell you how you can get prepared to sell lots and lots of your artwork. By the end of this, you are going to be super duper inspired, and you're going to have a very clear vision that will help you sell more artwork. So here we go. The three main factors that help art sell is color, theme, and excellence. When it comes to color, a lot of people, when they first see a piece, they're most attracted to the color. And the color sort of answers the question for them, can I live with this? Color should be rich, it should transition, and there should be a definite color story. So this is an example of rich color versus anemic color. Just because it's bright doesn't necessarily mean it's rich. Richness is really non-muddy color that has its full sort of power. So even if it's a white or it's a neutral or a gray, it is the cleanest, richest, full body version of that. So color also needs to transition. If you look at the painting on the left, the greens are transitioning and the reds are transitioning. Whereas on the right, everything is same. It's the same white everywhere, same purple everywhere, and it's not transitioning. Color story. Your painting has to have a color story. Both of these paintings have a color story. The one on the left is a complementary color story where yellow is the dominant color with a splash of violet. Then on the right, the color story is basically in a triad. So you have violet with that teal and blue. So everything's on that end with a splash of the complement, which is the yellow that's in that green. Let's go to the second most important reason why a painting will sell, and that is the theme. The theme is how the collector is really going to connect with the piece. So it's important that the subjects are open-ended and not too specific. So here's an example of open-ended where you can create your own story. Maybe this is a dream. Whereas the one on the right, you get this feeling like you're observing a riddle. If you can't solve the riddle, then you feel like you're left behind or you're not quite smart enough to figure it out. And that is a big turn off when it comes to art. Usually artwork that is beautiful or inspiring, hopeful, wondrous, something positive, something inspiring is going to sell versus dark, oppressive, depressing, sad. Also a unique point of view, so nothing very derivative. There's only so many subjects, but within that subject, there's so much room for creativity and innovation and a unique point of view, a unique perspective. As you can see, the one on the right is like there's 100,000 million paintings just like that, whereas the one on the left is more sellable because it's unique. So now we're on to our third and final reason that will make art sell before we move on to the next section, and that is excellence, right? What is excellence? It's having adequate skill, good materials that match the price, it's ready to hang, and good craftsmanship. So we're going to go through all of those. This is, a simple piece. It doesn't require a tremendous, you don't have to, paint realistically necessarily, but it's simple with excellence. Here's another example, the painting on the left. The skills are really good, and it's all about the expression. Whereas the one on the right, I can't get into the expression. I can't get past just, they don't have enough skill. So this is a case where the skills are getting in the way. Now you have to have high quality of materials. You want to use the best materials that you can. You don't have to use the most expensive paint on the market, but just not really crappy paint. And also you're going to do better with your skills if you have really good brushes. All these things are going to help your artwork sell better. If it's made with professional materials, you'll be taken as a professional. People will think of you as a professional, and you'll be able to sell your artwork, and you'll be able to sell artwork at a higher price. Now, craftsmanship, it's really about integrity of the painting and the materials, because people are paying good money for this. So fresh paint, clean solvent, clean water, so everything looks crisp and fresh. Your paintings should be signed with the edges of the painting painted and varnished, ready to be sold with wire on the back, ready to be hanged. Okay, so let's just say that you have all your ducks in a row and you heard all this and you're like, I think my color is pretty sellable. It's rich, it's pleasing, you use good materials, it's ready to hang, your skill is adequate, but you still aren't selling your artwork. What then? Well, I want to talk to you about 5 techniques that I think will really, really help you. Even if you're already selling your artwork, this is going to help you sell even more artwork. There are 5 skills, 5 techniques that is really going to help you sell your art. Let's look at edges. You're the director of the movie, right? You're the director and you have a star of the show. So over here on the one on the left, we have this bird and we have this crisp, nice flower. That's the focal point. That's the star of the show. Now, all of these edges, some are blurry, some are soft, and in between, and some are nice and crisp. You can lead the viewer's eye through the painting. You can even pace it out, how quickly their eye moves versus slowly on edges. So getting to the point where you have all these different edges and you've with intent led the eye around to exactly where you want the viewer to look is going to give you this very professional, masterful look to your art, and it's going to sell better. So what about brush strokes versus smoothie, blendy, blendy? So smoothie, blendy, blendy is when everything is smoothed out and the artist has literally erased all their brush strokes and the intent, the energy, everything that went into that brush stroke. So the painting on the left is very expressive. There's lots of different types of brush strokes in there, palette knife, all kinds of things, and it's going to be more sellable than the smoothie blendy on the right. Composition. Composition is really important. Understanding the basics of composition and using overlap, using scale differential, not having, the big mistakes that some people make, like focal point right in the middle, too symmetrical, triangles in the corner, stuff like that, will really help you make good compositions. So not knowing how to deal with the background or how to integrate that background with your subject, I think is a real big one. And it might be solving that one puzzle piece might be the very thing that you need to get your paintings to sell. Here are 5 tips that are going to help you integrate your subject with your background. So number 1, chiaroscuro. What that means, it's a fancy Italian word. The old masters used this technique, light against dark and dark against light. If you look over here where the highlight is coming in on her arm, they put dark up against it, right? And that helps that arm differentiate from the background. But having this sort of chiaroscuro where the background is opposite of the figure in terms of the light and the dark, it holds the image or it holds the subject in place. Another tip is you can divide your painting into 3 unequal parts. Say you have a figure in the middle of your painting and you're like, I don't know what to do with the background. Just make a little zigzag and divide it into 3 unequal parts, either vertically or horizontally, and fill those in with different color, different abstract elements, whatever. But as long as it's divided into 3 unequal parts, it will hold your subject and integrate it with the background. Another way is to bring color from the background into your subject and the color that's in your subject into your background. So both of these paintings are a great example of that. You see it here with the one in the blue. Even these subtle little skin tones that are back here in the background really help integrate this subject in the background. Okay, edges. Having edges that sort of disappear where you don't know where the subject starts and stops is a great way to integrate it, literally integrate it with the background. But now back to those techniques is to not overwork your paintings. So both of these are overpainted in different ways. So this one has that overpainted look with that blendy, smoothie. The artist sat there with little tiny brushes and really overworked their painting and made sure it was absolutely perfect. It has this over-labored look that really kind of turns off collectors from owning it. The one on the right, it's like thick, heavy paint, heavy textures, it has this overworked, overpainted sort of vibe to it. Art that looks effortless, like it just happened quickly and effortlessly, like this master artist, you know, has been painting all their life and can just pick up a brush and go done, right? Though that feeling, even though that's probably not what happened, that feeling is what makes art sell better. We are now moving on to how to make your art irresistible and, you know, relevant for the time. All you have to care about is that your art works for the time that you intend to sell it. Because once somebody buys it and falls in love with it, it's their piece and it means something to them. It's really important that it has these three factors in order to be relevant for the time, but also have longevity. Art that's made for a space. Creating pieces that actually fit in a space is really good, really, really important. So when you're creating your next piece of artwork, think about it. Think, why am I choosing this size? Where would somebody put this? Where would I put this? Where would my mom put this? Where would my friend put this? And have an answer for that. It doesn't make sense to make a giant food piece that goes over the couch. It makes sense to make smaller food pieces that would go in the kitchen. So we have to evolve as artists. Something that can make your artwork look dated is if you aren't really evolving with the times. So if you've been painting the same old thing for the last 20 years and it hasn't really evolved much and it hasn't grown up with the times, it's probably not relevant anymore and it will look dated when it's compared with all the other artwork that's out there. Okay, so I am going to share what I see as predictions. Now, if you want to also be able to kind of look out into the world, into culture, and sort of be a little bit forward thinking about the elements that are in your art, how I do it is I look a lot at fashion. So if you look at what happens during Fashion Week, not to say that, you know, people are going to dress like that. If you look at Fashion Week and what a lot of people wear, it's these kind of crazy hyperbole or exaggerated versions of the flavor that's out there. So something I've noticed is that this sort of movement in Nouveau Rococo. So this is just an example of an artist that I think kind of depicts that vibe or that idea. So if you look at old sort of Rococo paintings, everything is very frilly. These ladies here, this is a nod at that kind of Rococo vibe that's out there. Also, another trend I see is going back to color. For a while now, everybody's just decorating and wanting very muted things, but color is coming back. So that means for you artists that really like to paint in color, there's going to be a return to that. And I think people are going to really start gravitating towards colorful paintings. Heavy texture. So texture, textiles, even gluing, you know, cloth or fabric or anything that has a lot of texture. I think that is going to be even more acceptable, more desired. Another trend I see is grassroots art sales. So art sales that are, you know, under 10,000 are going to continue to really boom. And collectors buying directly from artists on social media, through email, websites. So this connection of collector directly with artists. That doesn't mean that galleries are out or galleries aren't going to do well. I own a gallery. So galleries that focus on an experience and events where they connect the collector with the artist. So in-person artist events. And then lastly, connection. So sharing your story, being open, being vulnerable, your authentic story, and sharing that with collectors. It's in your titles, it's in the themes that you paint. So consistent sales happens through creating that connection. The world is starving for that authentic connection these days. So I really want to encourage you to step out, be courageous, be brave, and share your story. So thanks for being here with me, and I hope you learned a lot. I hope you're really, really inspired and you are ready to create some art that's going to sell.